Whoa, I am excited to talk about this topic today. Surprised I went this long without making a video on it, but yes, here we are. Before we get into it, I brought along a very special guest and friend to talk with me. You may know him as the Sonic stop-motion god on YouTube, or just another Sonic fan with opinions that has about 100k subscribers.
Hi, I'm going to be in this video the other Steven, except my name is with a V. But you also might know me as piplupfan77. I have a YouTube channel. I do stop motion and other videos about Sonic. But if you've heard of me, it's probably for stop motion. So yeah, I'm happy to be here talking about this subject.
Why would I bring Piplupfan here to talk about this? You know, this is such a random topic. Why aren't we talking about toys, you know, figures and collectibles? I actually thought Steven would be a good choice for this, simply because we're both, like, as far as in the Sonic community, he's one of the few people I know that just really has a love for music in general. Like, we actually talk about non-Sonic music, like, outside of the video game world. I think you're a fan of 21 Pilots, Cage the Elephant, Daft Punk. Like, we love to discuss and listen to other music.
Yeah, being Sonic fans, we actually talk about things other than Sonic. It's surprising, I know, but we actually talk about things that aren't Sonic.
Yeah, so you actually collect Sonic music. That's something I don't do, so you want to go into that briefly?
Yeah, I love collecting official Sonic music releases, and by that, like, actual soundtracks and stuff put out on, like, physical CD, or there are a few, but even on vinyl and some on cassette. Most of the ones on cassette and vinyl are like the early 90s Sonic music, which is really, it's barely Sonic music. Some of them are, but it's a lot of, like, compilations with Sonic slapped on the cover, which is really stupid, and it's like, I don't even know why they exist, but they do, and they're fun to collect because those ones are actually pretty cheap. But yeah, I mean, I love collecting official releases of music in general, but definitely Sonic music, because it's really fun, and there's so many, like, official Sonic music releases. It's not like there's just 10.
Right.
There's at least, I think there's at least 100, if I'm correct. And I've been collecting for about maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and I have about I just got a few the other day. So I think I'd probably put my collection at like 46 official releases or something like that.
My god. That's
so,
pretty
yeah,
impressive, dude.
It's pretty fun.
That's a lot of Sonic music to, like, show off in your room, right? Or
yeah,
just even to listen to, because that's crazy.
And it's great. It's great because, you know, collecting figures, that takes up a lot of room, but collecting CDs, you know, you could store your entire collection on, like, one little bookshelf and it'll all fit there. And that I find is really cool too. So, yeah. Even
records, you know, we both collect vinyl, and they don't take up much room.
No, they don't. I mean, they're much larger than CDs, obviously, but you can still just stack them up against something. I don't actually have too many things on vinyl. I have 2 Sonic music releases, and I have a Group Love record and a Cage the Elephant record, and that's it right now. But I do want to get some more stuff, because vinyl's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. It's a thing that's in right now. It's kind of
that it is, yeah.
With the youth, you know, the millennials. But but yeah, Sonic music, I think it doesn't really need a background. It's one of the few redeemable things about Sonic, something that's consistently great. If you go on any publication, any gaming website, that's what they're going to tell you. They're going to say Sonic wasn't good since so-and-so, but the music has always been pretty spectacular, except for that one BioWare game we don't talk about. That never happened, so I don't even know why I mentioned it. But yeah, Sonic music is it's known for being pretty upbeat, it's pretty varied, it's awesome, it's great. I don't know anyone who hates any Sonic music. I don't know anyone that can just, other than, I guess, the vocal tracks, I can see why someone would, like, cringe at that, who didn't grow up with it, going into it now, like, just listening to it. Like, just imagine if you're listening to, like, Spotify or Pandora, and then, like, Escape from the City or, like, Death Chamber came on next.
Death Chamber, that's my fucking jam, dude.
It really is. We'll get into, like, our favorites later, but yeah, just it'd be weird in that sense. I could see that, but typically a lot of people praise Sonic music. It's always considered like top tier. Especially Michael Jackson's involved now with Sonic 3. That's a pretty big thing, you know. It's Michael Jackson. He owns the top-selling album of all time. Just throwing that out there. But yeah. So Sonic music is like a pretty big thing, and we're gonna talk about basically that. We're gonna open the video up with kind of like a general opinion on Sonic music, a general history, and how we feel about it, and then we're going to go into our best and worst soundtracks. So that's going to be tons of fun. So we're gonna give the floor to Steven, and why don't you just go into your history with the music and how you feel towards it. And basically, you know, since you have a collection, you can go more into that also, because that's pretty awesome.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, like what you said, Sonic music is generally pretty stable. When the main franchise isn't stable at all, especially in recent years, like the music tends to stay there. I mean, even like 06, and I don't really like Lost World soundtrack that much, but it's all right. It's better. I'd rather listen to the soundtrack than play the game. And I think Sonic music has always been pretty good. You know, the original trilogy on the Genesis is great, and you know, we have a Sonic 1 and 2 soundtrack release, but I really want a Sonic 3 and Knuckles music release, but I don't know if we'll ever get it because of all the different people that worked on it, including Michael Jackson.
Dude, so they won't even release the game on mobile. They're not gonna touch Sonic 3 and Knuckles. They hate that game, dude. They know there's some reason we're not getting anything on the game. Either they're just teasing us for no reason, or there's like legal stuff involved. So I agree with you there. I feel like they probably won't for now.
Yeah, and then so after the main trilogy on the Genesis, it kind of goes all over the place. Like we have Sonic the Fighters and Sonic R, and you know, all those weird pre-adventure games. 3D Blast even had some good music. For what it was. I mean, like, I think 2 of the tracks, at least, were remixed for Adventure soundtrack. So clearly, I believe... I can't remember if Jun Senoue worked on 3D Blast music-wise. I think he might have. I think that's one of his, like, first, and then he was like, oh, I like these ones that I did, so I'll bring them back for Adventure. So yeah, that's like, as far as classic Sonic goes, I hate fucking saying classic Sonic now, because it's like trigger word at this point.
Why are there 2 Sonics? Why
exactly,
is it
like
Sonic
it's just Sonic, man.
I completely understand that, yes.
Anyway, but so then that's like, I think classic Sonic has an overall kind of sound to him in terms of like his music and stuff. There is like the Sonic R vocal tracks that are very like, like what Amazing. The fuck happened? Like, yeah, they're good, but it's like it was very strange, just whatever. But I mean, it's cool.
It's out of nowhere. It's 90s, so we just like give it a pass. It's kind of like
so we
music.
Just accept it.
We don't reflect on 80s pop because it's so like a lot of it's outdated and really cheesy. But you just give it a pass. You just let it go. It's just still great. Yeah.
And then we hit Sonic Adventure, and that's when music in Sonic really changed and formed into kind of what it is nowadays. Sonic Adventure brought a much more like rock, kind of punky feel to it. Mostly rock with like the hard guitars and stuff and drums. And that's my favorite sound for Sonic as a whole. I think. I mean, I'm all for like giving certain environments different genres and stuff, like with what SA2 did music-wise. But I think like overall for Sonic himself, like he should have kind of rocky music, because I think that suits him pretty well. And rock is also one of my favorite genres, so I mean that goes hand in hand. And then, you know, there are games like Heroes and Shadow, which I think compared to like Adventure 1 and 2 are kind of lower. I know that Senoue has said that his favorite soundtrack that he's worked on is the Heroes soundtrack, which I think is like, I would have thought he'd like the Adventure 2 soundtracks more, but no, he said the Heroes one, which is interesting. Oh, and then I forgot to mention that, you know, Adventure is when vocal themes in Sonic became like staple for each game.
Pretty big thing too, because that's a lot of Sonic's Actually, like a lot of their Sonic's most known tracks are the vocal tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside
like
of the classic era, yeah. Everything post Sonic, everything like Adventure and onward, he's known for like those tracks. The Live and Learns, the Open Your Heart, What I Made Up, those kind of tracks. So
definitely Sonic Heroes. And then, you know, even games like Sonic, like spin-off games like Sonic Riders and shit got their own vocal tracks, which I think is cool. And you know, when it comes to music in Sonic now, vocal tracks are very absent. The last game we got with vocal tracks was Black Knight, and that was, what was that, 2008, 2009? And
it has to be after Colors, because Colors had vocal tracks.
Oh, right, Colors. I was thinking Crush 40. Crush 40 is Black Knight was Crush 40's last Sonic game to date. Sonic Colors, yes, did have Reach for the Stars. So 2010, but 2008, since we've seen, you know, it's been almost 9 years since we've seen fucking Crush 40, and they were a very, you know, big part of Sonic music, so I'd like for them to come back soon. Reach for the Stars I like. I think it's all right, but it's a very different feel, as all of Colors and Colors soundtrack is.
Yeah, I feel it.
Unleashed had Endless Possibility, and I really like Endless Possibility. And then that's like vocal tracks just stopped. Like Generations didn't have one. Sonic Lost World didn't have one. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric sure as hell didn't have one. I'd be surprised if it did.
That's a game? Whoa, we're just making up these games. Where are they coming from? I thought we didn't talk about Rise of Lyric. What is this? But go ahead.
But, you know, overall, Sonic music has been very good, but there are a few missteps. Like, you know, we have Chronicles Dark Brotherhood, we have Spinball, we have I've never been too big on either of the Riders soundtrack, or well, all three of the Riders soundtracks, I guess. I do like Free. Oh, wait a minute, didn't Crush 40 did an alternate version of Free, so I guess that was their last appearance. But Black Knight was like, I don't even know if their version of Free was used in the actual game. So
I'm not too sure.
I don't know.
The game.
I have played it one time, and that is all. So I can't say on that front. But the last time we heard it, like front and center in a Sonic game, has been Black Knight. But yeah, so that's Sonic music in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, that was a great point. Especially with the whole like the importance of what Adventure represented, because I think that's like a lot of people's favorite soundtrack, Sonic Adventure 1 at least. I will say Adventure, I kind of flip what you said about SA1 and 2. I feel like SA1 was a lot more varied. Like with the environments, it really fit. Like you had hip hop, you had rock, you had like all these other genres. Like so did SA2, but I felt like SA1 was just a bit more organic and a bit less on the electronic side that SA2. I like SA2, you could hear the electronic, like the electric guitars. You could hear like the industrial like sounds and like the machine. Like when you were in Eggman stages, you could like you felt that you really felt the metal clashing with the ground and the hover.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
It really fit the theme of the stage, and the music was so appropriate. And when we get into like our favorites, I'll elaborate more into that. But yeah, SA1, it was like it took what Classic was doing with the like it's upbeat and it's really just catchy sounds, and it's really it really just
I can see
evolved. It just really evolved the sound going into the 3D era, and it carried throughout. Like Sonic just got a signature sound throughout the era. Like the whole, like you brought up, guitars. I too will always associate Sonic with guitars. He was brought up as the cool guy in the 90s, and what's cool?
Exactly, and
guitars.
A guitar is fucking cool. That's what's cool.
You wanna be like Kurt Cobain when you're young. You wanna be this cool rock star with the guitar and stuff, and that's exactly what Sonic represents. So I did forget to mention that.
I wanted to mention that, you know, he started in the modern era with like guitars and stuff, but now everything's like as a whole has become a lot more orchestral overall. And I think that's a really good idea, and it works a lot. I wish we could have some kind of blend. Like, there were a few orchestral tracks in SA2. They're very minimal. But, you know, think like Unleashed, completely orchestral soundtrack. And I love Planetary Pieces Unleashed soundtrack. It's fucking awesome. And I think it works so well. I'm gonna save that for when we get into our favorites.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's hard to not talk about it. It's like, dude.
No, I mean, I'll be right there in just a sec.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Like the whole thing with orchestral and guitars. I feel like, again, like I want to just, I can't stress enough how good SA1's soundtrack is, because I think SA1, it wasn't terribly orchestral, but it just had such a great mix of everything. And same with Sonic Colors also. Sonic Colors isn't a soundtrack I just, oh my god, love, but it was so varied. It reminded me a lot of SA1. It was one of the first soundtracks since SA1 that gave me that feeling, like, wow, so this really sounds like classic Sonic, just in 3D. But yeah, I definitely agree. I wish they could do like more of a mix, because a lot of people really do like the guitars. It's a main reason the Sonic Runners soundtrack, though as overrated and as overhyped as I think that thing is, I don't think it's terribly all that great, like everyone else does, but the guitars are there, and it's pretty catchy, and a lot of people think, I've actually heard people say it's one of the best soundtracks that Sonic's ever had. I don't get that, but, you know, music is
that's
subjective.
a bit of a stretch, but...
yeah, music is subjective, I'm gonna give him that, but, you know, I still don't get the hype with that soundtrack, but, you know, I get it. It's a lot of it's pretty good. Also, rest in peace, Sonic Runners.
yeah,
I never made a video on it. I actually had a video prepared for Sonic Runners, like, RIP, but it just died way too soon on me, and I didn't get it out, so rest in peace, Sonic Runners. But yes, back to the video.
I thought you were gonna say I had a video prepared for Sonic Runners, and then right when you were gonna make it, it just fucking died. Which would have been the best.
Oh my god. Maybe it went that way, maybe it did. But, yeah, as far as just, it's hard to really recap everything we said, or basically what we've been saying. You know, Sonic has a really interesting catalog of music. It has a certain sound, and when you hear it, you immediately think Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
You know, give or take with some games. 06, a lot of it sounds like it could be straight from, like, Final Fantasy or something. Like,
that's
06,
true, yeah.
06 is such a realistic, it's such a non-Sonic soundtrack, but it's also really great. So there's some games like that. And there's games like Heroes, where you hear it and it's immediately Sonic. Like, oh my god, that sounds Sonic the Hedgehog. Or Adventure, when you hear Final Egg, whenever, like, the guitars kick in, that's, like, so freaking Sonic, dude. I can't, every time I hear that, I just love that soundtrack so much. It's like, it embodies Sonic. It's literally Sonic the Hedgehog. That's why I love that soundtrack. But,
I was gonna say something, but I should probably save that
for
when we get.
Go ahead.
Why don't we just dive into it right now?
So the best and worst Sonic soundtracks in our opinions. Like, what are our favorites? What are our least favorites? I'll give the floor to Steven. Why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay. Well, my favorite Sonic soundtrack of all time is Sonic Adventure 2. I'm in the
really
something they.
Oh my god.
Something they started with Sonic Adventure, and have actually carried for most releases all the way up until today. They'll give each soundtrack like a specific name when they release it. Like, for example, Sonic Adventure is Digilog Conversation, Sonic Adventure 2 is Multidimensional, Sonic Heroes is Complete Trinity, etc., etc. They all have their own specific names. And I actually really like that, because it makes it seem like more of an album, rather than just saying Sonic Adventure 2 official soundtrack. So if I refer to them as their soundtrack names, that's just because I collect, and I've been calling them that for quite a while.
It's because he's a veteran on Sonic music. The legend, so yeah.
It also, back when we actually got a good amount of vocal tracks, they used to also release 2 soundtracks per game. We got one with all the level music and cutscene music and everything, and then we got one with all the vocal songs, like just the vocal songs. And that started with Adventure, and so I guess when we were talking about favorite soundtracks, it's more in, like, all the audio featured in the game. When I've talked about soundtracks before, it's been like what's my favorite release specifically, because, you know, like, Multidimensional won't have all the vocal tracks from SA2. But to not make things all fucking complicated, I'll just talk about the games collectively. But yeah, SA2 Multidimensional is like my favorite. I love it so much. I'm happy to say that I finally own it after like so long and looking for it and having a bootleg copy for years. I finally own the real one.
Nice. I saw the unboxing video.
Yeah, I'm
very, and it looks pretty official. Yeah,
very excited that I finally own it. It's one of my grails, and it's funny because you'd think like, oh, now that I have this one, it's like all the other ones are cheap, but there are actually quite a few Sonic music releases that are still really pricey nowadays. But I'll probably talk more about that later. My second favorite is Planetary Pieces for Sonic World Adventure, also known as Sonic Unleashed. I think that is I think it's beautiful, and I think both SA2 and Sonic Unleashed, I was trying to think how I was going to say this. They're really different sounds. Like, they're completely opposite ends of the spectrum. SA2 is very industrial. Each character kind of has their own genre, but they're all kind of the same. In terms of sound. And then Sonic Unleashed has very orchestral pieces, very beautiful, like, especially for cutscene. They have... I'm a sucker for leitmotif, which is when like there's a general melody that's repeated throughout either a film's score or a game's musical score. Like, think Back to the Future, like, it has a very iconic theme, and it's brought into many parts of the movie. I'm a sucker for that. I love that, and Sonic Unleashed has that throughout, like, all the cutscenes. You know, the do-do-do-do-do-do, that is, like, everywhere in the game. And it's great. And I love that Unleashed has an orchestral theme and a vocal theme. That's the only... I feel like that's the only time we're ever going to see that ever again.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you were describing earlier, like what you like to see in the soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, I am, you know, Colors had that, but no one really talks about the orchestral theme in Colors, so you don't have to worry about that.
You barely hear it. I think it's like the boss fight's like 2 seconds long. You barely hear it. You can't even get to the theme. It's like the death thing in Sonic 2. Like, there's this cool theme you never hear. So
it's in like the menu, and that's it. Like that's where it is. But in terms of other soundtracks that I really like, Sonic Adventure, as you said, I love that game's soundtrack to death. It's so great. I think I put it as my number 3 on my countdown, so right behind SA2 and Unleashed. There are a lot of reasons I love that. The melodies and like everything and the songs are so great. Open Your Heart is like, Open Your Heart is so good. And all the vocal themes, I think, are, although I think they're better in SA2. It doesn't matter, definitely, like, SA1. SA1's It Doesn't Matter is definitely a lot better than SA2's, in my opinion. But when
interesting.
Yeah, most people, I think, actually say the opposite, but I've always liked the first one a lot better. When it comes to, like, Unknown from ME, SA2's is way better. Tails is actually, I think... These are
some out there opinions, dude.
What? It's so fucking hype, man. Unknown from ME is so great. Tails is, I actually prefer the SA1 version. So I guess, of the vocal themes that are the same between both games but are just done in a different way, actually, Adventure, is better, because Sonic and Tails are both better, in my opinion, than SA2's versions. Knuckles, though, Unknown from ME and SA2, fuck, that is my shit. Sonic Rush, hugely underrated soundtrack. No one really talks about that one.
I hear that a lot. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Like, a lot of people like it. Has like an underground, not really an underground following, but just like a Sonic fan following. It's just like, no one's ever going to talk about Sonic Rush's soundtrack, really, unless you're a Sonic fan. I don't really hear many people even talk about Rush in general, but like, if they played it, the soundtrack is not really like the thing to talk about. But it does have a great...
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I love Rush as a whole. I love it as a game and as a soundtrack. It's got a very... I forget the composer's name, but he does a lot of sampling work, and that makes it sound like really cool and really kind of techno-y. Something that's cool about the soundtrack specifically, I believe the first 7 tracks on the disc are like the actual instruments used to make the music, and then all tracks that follow are the actual Nintendo DS like audio quality music. So the first 7 are like there's like What You Need, Back to Back, you know, Wrapped in Black, like a couple versions or a couple songs versions in like the actual instruments, which is really cool because you don't hear that in the game.
Right.
And then you know, I do like Generations soundtrack quite a lot. It's basically just remix the album because like everything's just a remix of something.
Does that even count? Can we count Generations? Like,
I mean, I would. It's a really good soundtrack.
It's kind of like a best of, like a greatest hits. It's like whenever you really count it, it's kind of like all the other games are albums, and like Generations is like the greatest hits, like the Beatles 1 or Bob Marley's Legend. It's like, can you really count that? But
or like
for the sake of
Green Day's International Super Hits or something like
much,
that. Yeah. I mean, I would count it just because everything is redone and remixed, and it's all done in a really good style. Dropped the fucking ball not having Sonic Boom Crush 40 version as the vocal theme. Jeez, like how did they not see the perfect opportunity to do that?
There's so many. That game is missed opportunities. The game. Like,
that's
I stand by that. Like
that's
so
true.
many missed opportunities, but a lot they got right in my opinion. But yeah.
Color. A lot of people say Colors soundtrack is really good, and I don't disagree with that. I think it's all right. I don't know, like. It's very different to me, and it's kind of that like that one music release that's kind of just there.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like I was praising it earlier for what it did. Like, because the thing I respect about Colors is that to me it does sound very Sonic. Like it sounds like something that'd be in a Sonic game. And my favorite tracks are the ones that really take me back to like the adventure days, like Terminal Velocity, really great. What is it? Planet Wisp Act 1 and the other acts are pretty great. And what's the other one? My favorite stage in the game, I can't remember. Asteroid Coaster.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, that has some really good tracks.
Even like the world map theme for it, like just to
like
if you ever
totally,
listen to those, like where you just like go to each stage. Those are pretty great.
Is that the
like, you never hear them.
Is Asteroid Coaster's Overworld the one that's like doo-doo-doo? Is it that one? I think
so, yes.
That one's really good. I like that one a lot. But you know, there are a couple soundtracks that I have like the entire actual OST like soundtrack on my iPod. Like I have SA1 and SA2. I think Heroes. Colors, I definitely don't have all of it. Partially because it's so big. It's 3 discs.
It's like it's like True Colors something.
Yeah, it was Vivid Sound Hybrid Colors.
Something like that.
That's one of the music releases that's 3 discs. There are very few that are 3 discs. I think the ones that are Sonic Colors, Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, and 06. And I think Lost World is 2, so that's 5. So not a lot. A lot of them are 2 discs, but not 3. But no one cares about fucking discs. I'm looking on my shelf at my actual collection to go off.
There's actually that one viewer that really cares about the discs, and he's.
Well, I mean, there might be. I do. You know. I'm that viewer. I'll be watching this when it actually goes up and be like, "Oh, this is where I talk about the discs."
About that? Oh my god. Right.
I'll save that for worst Sonic soundtrack. I do really like how when they put out the Sonic 1 and 2 soundtrack, they have the original demos from Masato Nakamura. Like his original instrumentation of each song. Some of those are really cool and kind of like different sounding with the actual instruments, you know, before they were put into like the Genesis sound font. So I definitely recommend checking out disc 2 of that, because I think that's all the demos, and then disc 3 is like fucking vocal shit from Dreams Come True that no one cares about. But I mean, I did a whole video on my top soundtracks, but those are just the ones that come to mind, like, right off the bat.
I guess I'll get mine out the way, before we get into our worst, just to balance out the video a bit, but, well, I hate that there's a lack of diversity with this option, but Yeah, my favorite soundtrack is very clear. It's SA2's. It's multi-dimensional.
Boy!
It's no surprise. I'm sure a lot of you saw that coming by my tweets. How I always make fun of it.
How I always one where it was soundtrack. Like, I updated my top 10 albums from 2016 or something, and they were all top 50 list, and they were all multi-dimensional.
Yeah. It's the greatest. Mainly because I hear the main criticism of the SA2 soundtrack I hear is that it's like compared to SA1's, it's not varied enough. It's not, there's not much diversity. It all sounds the same. I can't remember what Tails and Eggman's stages sound like, and it's overrated.
That's bullshit. Tails had some fucking jamming tunes.
And my response to that is, why does a soundtrack have to be varied? Like,
oh, it totally doesn't.
It does not have to. There's a lot of films that have like really ambient scores and really consistent sounding scores, and I think SA2 does it masterfully with the way it divides its soundtrack. I can immediately tell which songs go to which character, because the whole game's like personality driven. Like, you have Knuckles, who's in the rap, and all of his stages are like freaking rap with like these weird nonsensical lyrics attached to them. And Sonic's are just fast and upbeat, and Shadow's are like really, I can't even describe it. It's like rock, but it's like really
Shadow's
distorted.
more like
weird.
It's Shadow is more like house, like
it's really
like drum
weird,
and bass
yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, and like it just so on and so on, and it just works. It actually makes me think like if Amy was a character in SA2, what would her music sound like? You know what I mean? Like, I'm always curious about that. And Rouge with the jazz, I think it's such a great soundtrack. I remember every track from it. It's super iconic, simply for the main themes and the vocal themes. It's freaking amazing. I think it's Sonic at like a peak in music, because it's just that great to me. But
so before you get into your next favorite, before you get into your next favorite one, since we both have the same favorite like soundtrack at the top, what's your favorite track from that soundtrack?
Dive Into the Mellow, man.
Oh my god!
Greatest track ever. Dude, I know, no BS, I actually listen to that, like, in my car and stuff. Like, I listen to that in public, because it's so great, man. I don't know what it is about that instrumental, but it's just perfect. It's
Dive Into the Mellow is very good.
It's like, dude, whoever made that, why are you making Sonic music? Make legit, like, sell that stuff, dude. I don't know who produced that track. But
fun
dude,
fact, I know that. Most of, I think all of Knuckles' music actually was composed by Tomoya Ohtani, who does Sonic Unleashed and, Sonic Colors and Sonic Lost World. So he's like, it was still like a Sonic dude who still does stuff today. He composed like the beats to him, and then obviously Hunted P came in and rapped a sick beat over everything.
Release an instrumental like beat tape, like.
Oh yes, please.
Just do that for me, like do that for the world. That'd be the greatest thing. But yeah, definitely that.
If people don't know by name, Dive Into the Mellow is Aquatic Mind. Yeah,
not one of my favorite stages, but the music.
No, definitely not. And I love like the song name for that. Dive Into the Mellow is like one of my favorite song names in Sonic of all time, because it's so great.
Definitely, it's just so great. It just fits. It fits everything. That's one of the main reasons I like it. I think the soundtrack, even like the Chow themes. I think oh my god, I just love this soundtrack. I could talk about it all day, but I won't do that, because that's for another time. But I don't really have a rank. I don't really rank my favorites as far as Sonic goes, but I'm just gonna list a few. SA1s I mentioned earlier, I don't have to go into that.
I wanted to say my favorite from the soundtrack.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I've said it before, but Keys the Ruin for Pyramid Cave.
Oh, definitely.
Not counting vocal themes, because then Live and Learn. But
right.
If we're just doing like level music and stuff, Keys the Ruin, Pyramid Cave, ooh, baby, the guitar on that, so nice. And if you this has actually finally been ripped now. It's been ripped for quite a while, but if you take a look at the Sonic Adventure Music Experience CD that was given out at the event, that has some remastered and like remade tracks, Keys the Ruin has a sick bass solo like halfway through it, and it's fucking my life. I jokingly tweeted out like a petition to have Jun Sonoe to play He's the ruin at the Sonic party, and then he actually did. Yeah, and I was losing my shit because it's my favorite.
Too bad like anyone who uploaded that stuff got like so in trouble. Like I think he actually went out and targeted the people who like uploaded it. But,
yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think it was like supposed to be like an exclusive thing, but I did hear it.
Yeah, but
all
of
those were great.
All of them.
I do want to quickly touch on this because the video is getting pretty long. But about like your favorites with the adventure games. For some reason, I actually disagree with like all of them. I say like as far as Sonic's theme, I actually prefer SA2's. I think that song just fits Sonic. I think it's so fun, and I think it's so like great. It fits the game so well, and I just love it for Sonic. And for Knuckles, I actually prefer the first one. I actually prefer SA1. It's iconic. It's the one everyone remembers. So, and I think Tails. Tails can go either way for me. It's just kind of like it's Tails.
Tails, I don't really care for his vocal theme either way, anyway. So it's like whatever. About Knuckles' theme, for the longest time, actually, SA1's was my like preference. And then I actually listened to SA2's all the way through, and I'm like, oh shit, wait, this one's better. I mean, in my opinion, anyway.
I could go either way. They're both great. But other soundtracks I want to throw out there, Sonic R, freaking incredible. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, I know you like that one a lot.
Is crazy good, and I actually listen to that like normally, like with my other stuff, my actual like music. So that's a great soundtrack.
If you have it on shuffle, it just goes from fucking Bob Marley to like work it out.
That one's great too. That's like the ultimate gym song, man.
It is, yeah.
But I actually disagree with Sonic Riders. I actually really loved the first game soundtrack. I could care less about anything after, but the first game I loved that soundtrack a lot. What else is pretty underrated? I do like Heroes a lot, that's expected. I love Sonic 2, Sonic 3. Sonic 1, holy crap, is freaking... I love that soundtrack. I know it's kind of weird, it doesn't really have much songs. Short game, but I actually
it is really short.
I really do feel like Sonic 1's soundtrack is kind of... I don't want to say underrated, because it's freaking Sonic 1. Everyone knows Sonic 1, so it's like popular, but... No, I never hear anyone talk about Sonic 1 music-wise. I actually really like the soundtrack, like Labyrinth.
Yeah, I don't either.
Marble.
No one talks about it ever.
It has like a dark feel to it, but also like happy. It's kind of weird. Sonic 1 has like a super weird. Sonic 1 is just a weird game to me in general, but because it's so
and then for Sonic 1 and 2, for Sonic 1 and 2, it was also composed by Masato Nakamura, who is an actual like guy with a band in Japan. Like they actually got a person already in music to compose, which I think is really cool.
I think so too. Yes, like that. It's just I don't know. As far as Sonic 1, I do like that soundtrack quite a bit, and I want to highlight that. But all of it's really good. I just want to bring those up. A lot of Sonic doesn't really miss with soundtracks. I think that's pretty known. So I think we should go ahead and just go into some of your least favorites. What do you think are the worst Sonic soundtracks? Or not even soundtracks, but you can just point out like your just songs you don't like in general, like main themes or whatever.
Well, I think we should get the Spinball menu theme out of the way, whatever that one is. Dude, that one is awful. Before it became like a meme, like, oh, this is a good song. I remember as a kid, like, going to the menu, and I was like, this is fucking awful. Like, why? And dude, it's weird because Toxic Cave and Lava Powerhouse are actually really good songs. I think they're, like, underrated as hell.
Toxic Caves actually made the Generations thing. I think it did.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, it was in there, yeah.
So, yeah, there's that. And then, Sonic 4, Episode 1 and 2, I don't like that soundtrack at all.
Wow, man, one I agree. One's pretty damn generic, but two's pretty good, man.
No, they're just both, like, it's just whatever. It just feels like whatever.
I get you, though. Yeah.
I own it on physical release. It's still sealed because I didn't care to open it.
I just remember I remember when 2's actually got leaked out. Like, I just remember loving the tracks, but I can definitely see why, because I'm that way towards the actual video games themselves, so I can see why the soundtrack would feel the same, yeah.
And it's been a while since I've actually listened to either of them, kind of all the way through, because they're so whatever, and I don't really like touch on them. I definitely don't dive into that soundtrack to find music for my videos, because I'm never going to use them, at least in like episodes. I mean, but yeah, like I said, I still have it sealed, and I'm never opening it. And I'm glad I got it for like $15 because it was discounted, and yeah, it's a really whatever soundtrack.
Yeah.
I forgot to say this for ones that I like. I forgot to bring up Sonic the Fighters. That's a really good soundtrack.
No, oh my god, yeah, it is. And I forgot to bring up 3D Blast. I actually like both soundtracks for 3D Blast.
Oh yeah, I mostly just know the Genesis one. I'm not really familiar
with the Saturn one's pretty weird, dude. It doesn't sound Sonic at all. I think it's one of the like most non-Sonic sounding soundtracks, but it's also like really good. So
really, I'm gonna have to.
It's weird.
I'm gonna take a look at it.
I've used it in a few of my videos. It's like, especially, some of them are like super over the top. Like, if you play the game and listen to the music, it's like, why is this in this game? I think it's, I think it's a Volcano, what's it called? Volcano Valley, right? Or
yeah,
it might be Volcano something, yeah. But, dude, one of those are super over it's like super epic, and it sounds like trailer music. And it's like, why is this in 3D Blast? It makes no sense, but it's a cool track. It's just pretty overkill, but yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that one. That also brings up, going off on a tangent from best and worst, how Sonic CD had the different, regions of soundtracks. They had the Japanese soundtrack and they had the US soundtrack.
Oh, someone's gonna kill us for going this long without mentioning CD. That's like a huge following.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal, dude. Like, we went that long. Wow.
It's funny you say that because I've never actually been crazy big on either soundtrack.
I've never been either, but I get it. It's every time I bring up soundtracks, if it's on Twitter or YouTube or anything, someone has to say their earliest responses are CD, like Japanese or whatever. Mm-hmm. I've never connected to it. I've actually connected to R and the Fighters. Growing up with Jim's collection. I played those way more than CDs, so I resonate with those soundtracks a lot more than CD. I know that might sound like, oh my god, you're not a real fan for saying that. But, I never really stuck to it. It's definitely not my favorite of the classic games. It's probably at the bottom for me as far as favorite soundtracks, but it's also really good. That's a compliment that it's even placed with those games, so.
Well, okay, so do you like Sonic Boom or Sonic You Can Do Anything better? Which one?
I like Sonic Boom way better.
Yes, me too. I feel like we're in the minority because I did a poll
much better song,
and no one picked
opinion.
that.
I've just never been crazy about CD soundtrack. I don't know if it's because I haven't played it enough. I actually have it on iOS.
That's probably me.
And I don't know, man. It's just, it never does. I play the game just fine, but I never really. I love that it's so really upbeat and weird, and a lot of it doesn't fit the game at all. But it's like, especially the game over, like, what the hell? But like the American one anyway. And
and the American
it's like
boss battle.
It's like, dude, what is going on? Like, why is this in the game? But I respect it. It's not. I'm not gonna list it as one of my least favorites. So it's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm. And if anyone's wondering, they didn't actually release like an actual Sonic CD soundtrack until the 20th anniversary edition, which put both US and Japanese soundtracks onto one disc. Because the only time we ever got another Sonic CD OST release was with a CD called Sonic the Hedgehog Boom, which has music from the American Sonic CD and Sonic Spinball, that's a music release no one really talks about, but it did happen. So
doesn't it suck that if you mention that, like, because Boom exists now, you kind of have to like have that in your mind. It's like that.
Yeah, I hate that.
It kind of sucks that it takes away anything Sonic Boom had, like the original song. It's just like, that's in history forever now. It's like, why is that there? But yeah, definitely, I totally understand you though.
So as far as like other soundtracks that I don't like, definitely like all of the writers' soundtracks. I've never been. I like the vocal ones from each game, but I've never been big on the actual. And free and stuff. Like I like those, and both versions of Ungravitify. All three I don't really care for in general. Shadow the Hedgehog is a very interesting point in Sonic music because it's very different, very like industrial and dark sounding overall.
Yeah. Do you think it's bland? A lot of people say the soundtrack sucks.
I think it's kind of bland.
I get that, but there are a lot of... I figured this out while making when I made a video on Shadow, like a history video, and I used the songs from it, and I was like, dude, a lot of these are actually kind of good. Like, I sat there listening to them. I always thought Shadow had like a super bland soundtrack, but like, dude, holy crap, a lot... I feel like there's a handful that you can like make... You can make like a great like mini album if you took out all the best tracks and it'd just be like a solid like... You know what I mean?
That's how I feel about Green Day's trilogy, the Uno, Dos, and Tre.
Oh, yeah.
You just took the best ones and made a good one.
I don't listen to Green Day, but I definitely know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, no one likes the trilogy. But back to Sonic music. Yeah, no, it's weird because I feel like I think Shadow's soundtrack is like pretty like, whatever. And then like I'll go into it and listen to some of them and I'll be like, oh wait, well this one's actually pretty... Oh, and so this one's pretty good too. Like I'll actually be kind of surprised. It's like I have like a preconceived notion of what the soundtrack is before I actually look into it. I'm actually using a track from it for the title card in my next episode that I'm working on right now. I'm not going to say what track, mostly because I can't remember the name of it anyway, but it was surprisingly like, oh, this is pretty good. I like this. What are other sound... Like, 06, a lot of people like 06's soundtrack, and I think it's good. I think it's just very, like you said, non-Sonic. And
It's kind of there.
It never clicked in my head, like, what was wrong with it until you said it's, like, a very non-Sonic soundtrack. I'm like, that's it! Because it sounds like it's not Sonic.
That's exactly it. Like, a lot of it with 06... I feel it's 06 is best when you listen to the soundtrack on YouTube. Like, when it's not in the game. Like, it's funny to say, but, like, Aquatic Bass, it sounds completely generic while playing the game. For me, at least. But whenever I use it in videos, or if I go look up these songs, I'm like, holy crap, these are so good. Like, The End of the World, that song is so incredible. Like, every variation of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I wouldn't have known, like, playing the game, I wouldn't care because I'm dying constantly because the game is so bad. So I'm, like, mad that I don't even pay attention to it, but... And I look it up, I'm just like, dude, these are actually great. So I never dismiss people who say it's a great soundtrack. It's like one of the only redeeming things. That's always like the joke with 06. I agree, like, I think it's a great soundtrack. I don't think it's Sonic at all. But the thing with 06 is I don't think they were trying to make a Sonic game. I think they were like trying to make Sonic Next Gen, like a new birth. So you kind of excuse it, but the fact is definitely there. It just really, other than like the few guitar like tracks, like I don't know what it's called, like the Mach Speed and the first stage, Wave Ocean.
Oh, Wave Ocean, the Inlet. Yeah, that's a top tier track from that game.
Yeah, it's definitely some adventure era stuff, definitely.
Yeah, but, for sure.
Yeah, I agree there.
I'll say like one more to keep it short. One more, and there also just aren't many soundtracks in Sonic that I'm like, ew, because most of them are pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But the last one I'll comment on is Without Boundaries, which is Sonic Lost World's soundtrack. I think the same thing for, like you said, for 06. I think it's a very non-Sonic soundtrack.
A non-Sonic game, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's good in that way because it is a non-Sonic game. There are a few tracks that stand out. The main orchestral theme, I think, is really awesome. I think it's actually, I put it like number 2 on my orchestral Sonic songs. I do think it's that good. The Eggman Showdown final boss music is pretty good. Deadly Six, especially the violin version. And a couple more, but it's a very like non-Sonic sounding soundtrack. It's like someone was like giving direction to Tomoyo Otani and was like, hey, make a Mario soundtrack. And then like that's what he did.
What do I do? I'm not used to this. Yeah, I definitely sense that, definitely. The thing with Lost World where I can't really put it on that, like, my least favorite, I just don't remember it, dude. I don't remember
Yeah, I'm the same way, like...
I just can't even think of a song I don't like, because I just don't remember it. It has a forgettable main theme, it has a forgettable everything. Everything about Lost World is... Not everything about Lost World, but majority of Lost World is just pretty dang forgettable. It's just... sorry if I'm spoiling my thoughts. I am going to do like an actual review, like an in-depth thoughts of it. But yeah, the music does not resonate with me at all, and I completely understand that. So I guess,
I mean, it goes well for the game because the game is like that, and so is the soundtrack. So it's perfect.
Right. And I guess I'll give a few of my least favorites. First of all, this isn't really a soundtrack; it's more of a song. But "Reach for the Stars," holy crap! Holy crap! Who thought that song is god awful? I still, to this day, the first time I ever heard "Reach for the Stars," I thought it was a terrible song. I still think it's a terrible song. I think it's so
I think
freaking...
it's alright. I think it's like "Reach for the Stars."
I think it's painfully awkward of a track. It's just this weird Owl City dance mix that doesn't make any sense. The instrumental, I get it. It's kind of upbeat and fun, and it really fit 2010, especially like the sound that was in pop radio at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it really fit that, but it's just so... I hate the lyrics so much. I hate the singing. I hate the lyrics. I don't really... the melody's alright, but again, it's just... what kills it for me are the vocals. I just really can't get behind the whole, like, auto-tune thing. The song's really
you don't
annoying.
like Cash Cash? You don't like all their stuff?
It's just not my type, man. I can't get behind it. You know, I do love electronic. I like Daft Punk, you know? There's a lot of things I do like. I can't get with Reach for the Stars. I don't like the melody. I feel like it's too fast. I feel like it repeats itself too much. I just can't get behind it. It's just not a great track for me. I hate the track.
Quick side note for Cash Cash, since they are technically now a part of Sonic history, some of their early stuff I actually like. It's very poppy and like whatever, and it's not like, I wouldn't call it like great profound music, but I actually like some of their early stuff. But they recently actually put out a new album, and I gave some of the tracks a listen, and I'm like, holy shit, this is so bad.
Oh my god. This is no disrespect, you know, it's just kind of like criticism, you know, I doubt they're...
that's true.
But I have nothing against them. I've never heard any of their music outside of Sonic stuff, so...
All their remixes they've done, I think, are really great.
Yeah, I didn't care for the Supersonic Racing one. I didn't think it was bad. I vastly prefer the original, but... Yeah. You know, that's everyone. I just don't like Reach for the Stars, and as far as other soundtracks, let's see. I'll get the obvious ones out the way, of course. Freaking, what is it? Freaking, Chronicles, yeah, it's like the one everyone...
Oh yeah, I forgot to say that.
That's like I don't want to list it because it's too obvious, but, you know, it's...
The opening, I think, is alright.
Yeah. Sonic 4 Episode 1, I don't remember anything from. And that's sad, because it's Sonic 4. I should remember it, but I don't. I don't, dude. How does that happen? Sonic Mania has one new stage revealed, or actually two now, and they're both vastly memorable, like, vastly better than Episode 1. It's so sad, man. It's so sad. But, yeah, I don't like Episode 1 soundtrack all that much. Let's see, what else? There's Chronicles, there's Episode 1, there's, I know a lot of people I don't hate the soundtrack, but, oh man, I don't even know if I should say it, it's such a strong opinion, but...
Do it.
I don't care for Unleashed soundtrack that much.
Oh!
Yeah,
that hurts.
I just ticked off so many people, but here's the thing, I can acknowledge it as good. It's well put together music, the orchestral themes are great, I do like the variation it brings, I just don't remember a lot of it. There's a lot of songs I don't remember with Unleashed, and...
That's fair, I can see why you would say that.
That's just my critique with it. I don't think it's bad, but I can't say... It's nowhere near my favorites, as far as, like, ranking. And that's the thing with music, like, your favorite soundtracks, a lot of the times are going to be from your favorite games, because that's what you remember.
That's very true.
It's pretty much, right? Like, it's the order of your games. Like, whatever you grew up playing the most, whatever you like the most, you're gonna gravitate towards that soundtrack. And that's just kind of how it is. I don't play Unleashed that much, so I don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah, okay.
But, it just kind of goes like that. I'm not gonna list Generations, it's just freaking greatest hits, I can't even, like, say that.
I think it's a great soundtrack for what it is. All the remixes are really... Oh, man. Supporting Me for BioLizard, the remix for that, I think is, like, awesome. I love the remix for that.
Yeah. I've never heard it, but, you know, I could hear it after this.
Yeah.
I've never really cared to play the 3DS version, but, it's there. And I'm trying to think of another. What are the handheld games? Like the advanced games are pretty great with the music.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's pretty hard to choose least favorite because it's just Sonic. You know, Sonic has really great music. Even if I don't really care for soundtrack, I can acknowledge a lot of it as good, if not great. You know, so maybe you're looking at me like, oh my god, why does he praise Adventure 2 and this one's so much better? It's just, you know, what you know the most. I think SA2 is my favorite Sonic soundtrack, so that's just what it is. I love those songs a lot more. I can't really think of a lot of other soundtracks I don't like, other than those, you know. I don't remember anything from Free Riders. I don't even think I ever looked up Free Riders music. Is there even music in that game? I have no idea.
There is an official soundtrack that was released, so that's proof there is music.
I still don't get the hype around Runners. I think it's pretty solid, but I think I touched on that enough. And
I didn't actually comment on that. Jump. I think Sonic Jump fucking no, it doesn't exist. Sonic Runners I think is actually pretty good soundtrack. Like, not, I wouldn't say like top 5 or anything for sure, but for what it's worth, I think it's really good, especially like the main Beyond the Speed of track. And I forgot to mention this when we were talking about Adventure's soundtrack. But what I like about the Sonic Adventure soundtrack so much is that it has a really distinct sound to almost all the instruments, especially the drums. Like, the drums have really, like, ooh, that's Sonic Adventure right there.
Yeah, definitely. The drumming is like a pretty big deal with SA1. That's like one of the main things you point out. Like, especially in songs like Speed Highway, if you listen to that. Because a lot of people, with the remix in Speed Highway and Generations, like, even me, I couldn't even tell the difference between, like, modern Speed Highway and, like, the original. It sounded so freaking similar. But I think what you really have to listen to are the drums.
They are really, really similar tracks.
They're pretty similar. I'd say they're the most similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guitar for the original, though, I think is vastly superior than the remake. Because it gets to this point in the official soundtrack version where it starts getting like really kind of scratchy, and it's in a good way, though. That sounds really awesome. But yeah, that's great. Speed Highway's fucking awesome.
Yeah, but that pretty much covers it, man. Sonic has just freaking amazing music, and like oh my god, I can't believe I went this long without discussing it. The compilations, those soundtracks, I don't know what they don't have any official releases. Like, I'm talking about Gems Collection, Mega Collection. I don't know why those songs were never released. Like, there's no way you can download them other than like YouTube and stuff. But those are amazing tracks, but they're not like official anything. They're just in the game. It's like, why are these that good for no reason? That just proves how good Sonic music is. It's just like, even compilations, even the tennis game has a solid music. It's like, why? It doesn't have to be good, but it is.
If you are interested in downloading those tracks from the compilation games, I know that KH Insider is a big website when it comes to like cataloging video game music, and they've done a pretty good job of like having Sonic music that wasn't released. Like, you know, even in Adventure and Adventure 2, there were a handful of songs that weren't actually like released onto the official soundtrack. Mainly when it comes to like the Chow stuff for SA2 especially. And some of the two-player snowboard level, that was never released. So check that website out. I'm not fucking sponsored by them or anything. I'm just saying, if you want to like download them, definitely check that place out, because they have a lot of non-OST music there. So
he's definitely sponsored, by the way.
KH Insider, shout out, pay me, and I just roll with it.
Oh man. But I think that about wraps it up. I think this video has been going on for a little while, and yeah, I hope you got the gist of what kind of music we like as far as Sonic goes. We are obviously two big, not even just Sonic music fans, but just music fans in general, so this stuff's all opinion, you know? Music is like one of the most subjective forms of art. It's like, you can't really say what's good and what's bad. It's kind of just like what you're in the mood for and how you relate to it at a given moment, or how it makes you feel towards a specific thing. So
I think we can all relate, though, that the Spinball menu theme, that is like pinnacle of music.
It's iconic, man. It's the iconic pinnacle of music.
If you go to composing school, they're gonna fucking teach you that because it's so good.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's freaking. I heard. Michael Jackson sampled it at one point.
He sampled the Spinball menu theme.
It was definitely in I think Invincible, his last album.
Yeah, it was. No, it was like in a secret track he was gonna drop on the This Is It tour, but we never got to hear it.
We never got to hear it. Yes, that's why that hasn't really been released as like an official single. It's not on iTunes yet. You know, legal trouble and such. But yeah. So I had tons of fun talking about Sonic music with my good friend piplupfan77, who we share the same name. I know it could be confusing at times.
Yeah.
But you know, just remember he's Steven with a V and I'm Steven with a PH. So stop misspelling my name, people. You know, I still get Steven comments with a V when my name's like literally right there. So
I get the exact opposite
tell the
sometimes.
difference.
It's so fucking annoying.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thanks for joining, Steven. And it was tons of fun, and I'm sure I hope people enjoyed watching this with us or experiencing this with us. So. Absolutely,
I had a blast talking about. I could talk. Like this is like me limiting myself a little bit. I can talk on and on about Sonic music. If everyone didn't like it, I mean, fuck off. We'll watch it. I don't care. I don't care if you like it. It's here. You can watch it if you do. There you go. That's my input. That's my input. My final words. Viewers, fuck you.
Oh my god. That's the greatest. Don't unsubscribe, people. I love you. Don't leave. Don't leave my channel. I need you. But yeah, definitely it was a fun experience. I definitely enjoyed talking about it. I can't believe I went this long, but at last it's here. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Steven Ux, and I will definitely talk to you all later.
Bye bye. Thank you.